What's going on, my fellow basketball sickos? After playing some great defense in Game 1 and forcing the Nuggets to really struggle, I did not think the Timberwolves could play any better on that end of the floor, but they proved me wrong and put on an absolute defensive masterclass in Game 2 and held the Nuggets to 80 points. Just as soon as I thought we were done with the 90s, I see a final score where the defending champs have 80 points on the board. And oh, by the way, they did this all without the Defensive Player of the Year in Rudy Gobert. So in this film study, I will break down exactly how the Wolves put on one of the best defensive performances I have ever seen. Let's pick up on one of the first possessions of the game where Jokic just posted on Kyle Anderson and backing him down. But look at everyone on the Wolves defense. They are all in perfect help position, seeing ball and man, besides for maybe Cat, who can't see Gordon behind him, but he knows exactly where he is at. So Jokic sees this and is trying to calculate when and where the double is going to come from, and he takes his focus off of Anderson, who is actually guarding him, and he gets the ball poked loose from behind, and it leads to easy points off of a turnover to start the game because MPJ and Murray backpedal instead of turning and sprinting to the rim. A few plays later, the Nuggets are in transition, and the Wolves do not do a good job of matching up. We can see that as they start to push the ball forward, we can see Conley pointing at Jokic, trying to get someone to match with him, but nobody does, and instead of just sitting back and letting him stay wide open, he shifts over and gets right up under him as soon as he catches it, which makes him pick up the ball after one dribble, and then Cat follows and comes to help. Ant rotates to Aaron Gordon, and all this makes Jokic get stuck in the air and get caught in between a pass and a shot, and it forces a turnover. Here we have a play where Jokic is trying to back down Kyle Anderson. Ant comes to double, and Jokic quickly sends it back out and reposts. Anthony Edwards recovers, but Jamal Murray sends it right back, and as Ant goes to double again, Murray cuts, trying to run a give and go, but as soon as he starts to cut, Conley and Karl-Anthony Towns rotate, and they swarm Murray as he goes up for the layup and force him to have a really contested shot and force him to miss. Again, we have Jokic dribbling into a post-up, and here comes Jaden McDaniels on the double. But the Wolves are on a string, so as soon as Jaden McDaniels takes one step towards the double, here comes Mike Conley, and here comes Anthony Edwards. So when they pass it to Michael Porter Jr., Conley makes him put it on the floor, and instead of just saying, "I did my job," he gets back in the play and gets a second effort contest, which makes that shot even harder. Here we pick up with Jokic getting double teamed, and Aaron Gordon is trying to cut as he passed it because his man went to double. But Alexander Walker bumps the cutter, Ant slides over to tag him, and this makes McDaniels be forced to play both KCP and Michael Porter Jr. on the skip, so he opens up, splits the difference, so he can rotate to the first pass to either one. As Jokic skips it to KCP, McDaniels closes out, and Ant rotates to MPJ, and then he forces MPJ into a contested step-back three. In this transition sequence, Murray attacks and catches the Wolves defense trotting back, but Ant helps and forces the kick out, and then here comes McDaniels to the next man, Naz Reid to the next man, Cat to the next man, and then Ant to the next man, but he does a short closeout because they are daring Aaron Gordon to shoot, and the Nuggets end up with the worst option they have in transition, which is an Aaron Gordon three. Here we have another transition play where Jokic sends it up the floor to Michael Porter Jr. And he loves to do this where he sends it up and then he has a quick change of pace and he rim runs on a sprint to catch his defender off guard. But Kyle Anderson outruns him, out-hustles him, and gets around and gets the steal. And then he saves the ball and they get to go on another fast break off of a turnover and get more easy points off of turnovers. Here they get the switch for Jamal Murray thinking they have finally got him some room to operate and they got him with a mismatch, so they isolate him on this side of the floor. But as we see, none of the help defenders ever have to fully commit because Naz Reid does such a good job and he ultimately blocks his shot. So even when they were getting the matches that they wanted and thought they had an advantage, they still were not able to get quality looks because of how good the Timberwolves were playing on defense. Here we have another play where there's nothing really to break down, but I just wanted to showcase how in these ISO situations where the Nuggets felt like they had an advantage, the Wolves defenders were winning these matchups and not having to rely on any help. And so when the help did come, it wasn't to save the on-ball defender. It was with a purpose, and they were coming to block a shot or get a steal, and we will see more examples of this as the game goes on. This play starts with a Jokic DHO to Jamal Murray. Naz Reid helps and keeps him from turning the corner and getting into the paint, and he forces him into a step-back mid-range shot. While that happens, McDaniels rotates over and gets the side contest on Murray, which makes that shot harder. Jokic gets position because of the roll and because Naz Reid had to help, so he gets the offensive rebound, but they swarm him, they block his shot, they keep swarming, and then eventually it gets back out to Murray, and him and Jokic run another pick and roll, And Naz Reid, this time because the shot clock is low, rushes at Murray as the screen happens, and they almost switch because he knows the shot clock is low, and he forces Murray into a pump fake, and then they don't even get a shot off because he tips it, and it forces a shot clock violation. At the start of this play, Jaden McDaniels is trying to tell Cat to switch with him and back up and match with Aaron Gordon, but the pick and roll starts to happen with Reggie Jackson and Jokic on the other side, so he has to slide to help on Aaron Gordon, and Ant tags Aaron Gordon as well, so they don't give up a dunk, and Reggie has to kick it out. Then there's two good closeouts by Ant and Cat, and they force MPJ and KCP out of their comfort zone, and KCP ultimately turns it over to end this possession, and they get out in transition again. Here we have just another simple play in transition where Jokic, who is usually completely in control of himself as well as the game and is usually 2 steps ahead, just makes a boneheaded mistake and gets stuck in the air again and commits another turnover. I don't know if it was a mistake on one of his offensive players or if the Timberwolves defense just had him so flustered that he didn't even know where he was going with the ball like he usually does. On this play, Jokic catches it deep in the middle of the paint, and 9 times out of 10, this is an easy basket. And he decides that he needs to go quick like he should because he don't want to give time for the double to come, but Naz Reid is able to somehow block the hook shot. And so Jokic finally recovers the ball, and once that happened, that gave time for the rest of the team to swarm him. So Conley comes, gets the rip, and then Jokic recovers it again somehow, and then he has to shoot a left-handed hook shot, which is not his most comfortable shot and not the best shot for him. Then to end the half, the Wolves forced a string of turnovers that led to baskets that really ended this game before it even really got started. So this play is a Murray and Jokic pick and roll, but Naz Reid does a perfect job of showing to give time for Alexander Walker to get over the screen and get back close enough to Murray where he can back up. And just as Murray thinks that the roll is wide open and that Jokic is going to be playing 4-on-3 on the backside, he is again affected by the length of the Timberwolves, and Naz is able to get the steal that puts them out in transition again and eventually leads to a 3 by Jaden McDaniels. On this play, MPJ comes off a handoff and actually pushes off enough to get some space. But as the handoff happens, here comes Mike Conley, who jumps to help and is standing there waiting on him, and he just manhandles and rips the ball from him, and he gets the steal and kicks it up to Ant, who gets a dunk to really end the half strong. Coming out in the second half, I really thought the Nuggets would make some adjustments and try to make a push, but the Wolves just absolutely refused to let that happen. Here we have a Jokic and Murray pick and roll, but as we can see, there is no space for them to operate because they have Aaron Gordon on the wing, so Kyle Anderson is able to be in heavy help and be standing in the middle of the floor. Aaron Gordon tries to combat this, and he cuts behind Anderson, and as Murray comes off the screen, it looks like he was trying to pass it to him, but because you have Anderson there with his long, active hands, McDaniels was relentless in staying in the play and comes behind him to get the steal from the backside. Again, we have another Jokic and Murray pick and roll, where this length affects Murray as he starts the play, and he gets it poked loose one time. Aaron Gordon tries to clear out to the corner to give them room to operate, which we saw in the last play was a problem, but the Wolves clearly were not guarding him, so that means that there is an extra helper in McDaniels. He stays in the middle of the paint and is in heavy help and contests the shot as Murray comes along with Cat and Kyle Anderson, so there's 3 people contesting Murray. The ball somehow gets back to Jokic, and there waits Cat and Anderson again, who block him twice and force yet another shot clock violation. And this all goes back to the spacing and the length of this Wolves defense. Again, there's another form of this 2-man action with Jokic and Murray, so this one is a DHO. Cat is forced to show a little longer than he would like to, but he does a good job of not letting him turn to the corner and get into the paint. But if you look back over here, Conley is in perfect help position to tag the roller. Ant also slides over to help, and Aaron Gordon actually tries to set a back screen as MPJ starts to relocate because Ant is not facing him and is not seeing ball man. But Kyle Anderson, who is in the back line, sees this and starts to extend out to guard MPJ. But the key right here is that Ant jumps, active hands long, and prevents the pass to MPJ. And Aaron Gordon sees that Kyle Anderson is trying to get out to MPJ, so he tries to slip the screen because Anderson was rotating, and Murray tries a behind-the-back pass and does not see that Cat is standing there waiting, who is able to poke it free, and they get it yet another steal and force yet another turnover from Jamal Murray. This play is just another simple example of them doing a simple double team and rotate. So Conley goes to double. Then here comes Alexander Walker, and here comes Anthony Edwards. But as he kicks it out, KCP was able to get a little bit of space because he relocated some to the deeper in the wing, but he airballs, which just shows how uncomfortable they were all game long because KCP shot an airball on something that would otherwise be a routine shot for him. On this last play, we see that the Wolves are picking Murray up 94 feet like they had been all game, which had started to get to him and was really a part of his frustration. And speaking from experience playing, when you have someone up in you for 94 feet for a whole game, you get to the point as a point guard where you just try to beat the defender and go instead of turning a few times and getting into your offense, because that's really the only way to get any relief from the pressure. Coaches always say you're supposed to go north and south and not east and west, so that's what Murray does here. He attacks and beats him, but Ant comes over to help, and Cat comes over to help, and he gets his shot blocked by, again, another example of a double contest at the rim. The Wolves were not just using one person to come help. They were helping a lot of times with two people and was getting double contests at the rim. And scoring at the rim when you have two people contesting your shot is near impossible. So as we saw in this film study, the Wolves' physicality, athleticism, and length really bothered the Nuggets. First off, they had a hard time getting into their offense and getting it started at the spots that they wanted to. Then when they did get into it, the Wolves were swarming with active hands and were on a string all night long. And even when the Nuggets got out in transition to get some freedom and to get some space, they could not even get the shots they wanted then. So this was one of the best team defensive performances I have ever seen and probably ever will, especially against a good team like the Nuggets, who are the defending champs. And they did all this without Rudy Gobert, who is the Defensive Player of the Year. So luckily for the Nuggets, they have until Friday to figure things out, and they will need every minute. But one thing I do know is that these Timberwolves, led by Anthony Edwards, will not let up. Thanks for checking out the channel. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and check out some more of our content.